Hello there, this is Clarence from Singapore. Well, today I'm going to come back to another topic regarding Ready Scan, which is about optimizing scan object into game-ready asset for Unreal Engine. So, during the last video, we actually did the scanning of the object, and then I showcased how to actually use the video and then use this image to create the masking. Then we're actually able to scan object and actually we can bring it to Unreal. Now we're going to further use this object to optimize. So we're going to launch again the Ready Scan because we are going to reopen the previous file. So once we see here that we actually can open the recent projects, once loaded you will see that the object is actually in this format. So it's not the 3D object is actually still there, but actually it shows the Gaussian splatting part. So when you open up the panels here on the left, you will see that you're able to see the components of the 3D object that we did previously and the polygon. So this opportunity for us to actually further reprocess this model, and you can see the details is still there. So this is how actually you open out the Ready Scan file. So now we're going to actually explore how to actually further create high details on this. So knowing that the polygon count is actually 600, so we're going to open the high detail format and let it run. Okay, once it's done, you will see that the model, again we have the old very polished, very unpolished model, and it's but it's actually 2.4 million polygons, so it's quite in details. So we still have the previous model, and we can see that this is another model is created from the a bit low poly. So we're going to unwrap this model so we actually can apply texture to it. But before that, we actually do the model integrity check, and it looks okay. Any topology defects is actually okay so far. And we're going to do the clean out the model in case of anything. And but it should be okay at the end. Hey, right, it looks okay. So now we're actually going to apply texture. So we're going to do unwrapping first because we want to unwrap the model because it's a new model. So over here, what we're going to do is actually look at the setup. We're going to set texture. How many texture we can set, and then I'm going to set around one texture and then 4K, and I'm going to unwrap this model. Once it's done, we actually can apply a checker box to check the UV whether it's properly being unwrapped. And you can see from here, seems like the checker is okay and everything is still in clear detail. Okay, of course the minor parts with the edges with the UV is being cut off and then split off, so it's a bit of defects, but overall it looks pretty much okay in terms of the UV is sharp enough. So after that, we're going to apply the texture and it should be okay. So over here, I'm going to click on texture. Bam, now it's done already. So you can see here, this is a higher polygon model. We still had a very clean model that with the texture. Of course, this you can see the model itself has still some defects on the polygon, but overall it looks good enough. So you can double check and turn off the region, and then it looks pretty much okay in Ready Scan. And we still had to check compared with the previous model. It looks almost similar, but then again, it's actually 600,000 polygons. So it's quite huge to become a game ready asset, and here is 2 million over. So what we can do here is that we optimize the build. Actually, can we delete the models in between, which is we don't use it. This is one that without the texturing format. So we're gonna remove this away, and then we're gonna choose these two models. We're gonna export out and bring to Maya software, like the 3D software, to actually optimize it into a further lower polygon 3D model, so we can use in game asset. So first thing first, I'm going to select the low poly model, which is the 600,000 polygon, and I'm going to look for the format, FPS format, to export it. So over here, I'll choose this one and I'll kind of save it so I can find it. So of course you have to identify the name properly. You probably want to put a name here, so I'm gonna put a name with the low poly at the end. So I recognize this file is actually the low poly. Okay, right. So it's looking good, everything. So I'm gonna press OK and export. Right. So then we're gonna choose the model 3 and then the model 2. This was deleted, but now model 3 is the higher polygon. We're gonna export it also with the same format, MBS format, but we're gonna name it as high poly. So we're actually gonna apply both into Maya and do the optimization and see which one is suitable for the becoming game object. Looking good, so press OK. Okay, now we're gonna go into Maya and we're gonna open new. And we're gonna import the 3D model. Okay, so looking at the previous, the one we saved is the low poly and the high poly. So quick, import the high poly first. Make sure the IPS format is correctly set up. Import. Okay, so now the high poly is inside, but it's actually quite huge, so you have to press F to zoom in. And since there is some camera clipping, which we will solve it later. So this is the 2.3 million polygons that we actually export for the high poly. So I'm going to put it aside. And then I'm going to import the low poly now. The low poly looks similar, but this one is actually around 600,000 polygon. So again, what you can do is I open up the heads-up display and open the poly count. I'm going to click on both and check. This is the 2.3 million when highlighted, and the other one is 6.8 million. So once turn on texture, you notice that actually the low poly has a texture applied already. But the high poly is actually when you export, you actually export with the checkers. So we actually can apply the model with the texture. So we have to also know that actually because it's two different models. So the first low poly model is actually having a different UV compared to the second high poly model. So when we did the unwrap, so there's actually two different texture was created. So when we try to apply the low poly model and set with the right texture, it actually appears okay. But when I apply the low poly texture to the high poly model, the UV mapping is not correct. As you can see, it's actually we need to apply the right texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the hypershape and then look at the shader. There's two shaders. One is the left shader, which is the low poly, and another one is actually the right shader. It's actually the shader for the high poly. So what I can do is I identify which one is actually the high poly model shader, and I'm going to change the texture to the correct texture. So this is wrong, so this is actually the correct one. Okay, then I'm going to apply the texture. So the other one is actually the high poly texture is the more correct one. So I do is over here change the image to high poly. So we have also the checkers, but let's apply this one. And then you go, it's correct already. Okay, and then the next thing is, let's look at the the polygon count. So this one is actually quite high poly, so we can delete and optimize it. Okay, once optimize the high poly, okay, and this is actually very detailed. But we look at the low poly, right? So low poly is actually a bit more less detailed, especially the ground. We can see it's actually we can delete easier. But high poly, we cannot clear it too much because it's actually too high poly detail, 2.3 million. Okay. So look at This one, this is actually the low poly. So I'm going to reduce a polygon use this method. So if I reduce 50%, you'll see that I can keep the original, but I'm going to reduce 99%, so I only want maybe around left 6,000 polygon out of the 600,000 polygon. Alright, now once we finish, right, we'll see that there's two models created. So one is the original model, and the second one is the low poly model. It's actually only 6,000 polygon. So once you're happy, you just press W for the move tool, so it actually create that model. Then next thing is that we are going to apply the texture, okay, of the same material. Okay, now looks similar, but actually this is actually quite low poly, about 6,000 polygon, which is that we can use it for game ready. But of course the defect is pretty clear, because once you reduce the polygon, a lot of the defects is actually more clearer, but actually it becomes more triangular, and we have to do some optimizing part and fix over the asset before it move over to Unreal. Now for the high poly, also this one here, the one that actually the model is extremely too high poly, but the bottom there, the leg, is a lot of things we can delete this part. Once done in high poly, although how much we will try to delete, it actually has some defects. So if I try to reduce the high poly model now, so let's say I want to reduce it to 99%, and they will try to reduce it, and there's some error where they say there's a manifold geometry happen. So in order for us to reduce, we have to force to solve this manifold geometry issue. And how we do that? We go to clean up, and then we can just choose from here the manifold geometry, and then we apply. Once it's done, you should be able to reduce the polygon now. So we're going to reduce it. So now we're going to let it reduce. Once it's done, it has the same thing. We have two models. The other one is actually only about 23,000 polygon, which is the low version of the high poly. As you can see, they both looks okay. So yeah, because I have a lot of objects now, I sort of increase the camera clipping so I can see all of them aligned together. Now the low poly actually generates a better topology where you can use it in game, but the high poly, when it reduce, right, it still comes up with 23,000 polygon, which is actually quite expensive for an asset, and it looks almost similar. For this case, I'm actually probably going to take the low poly model, and I'm going to maybe fix the polygon better, right? So here I'm just going to align it and kind of show you that thing, how actually this for this model actually compare to each other when you put them aligned in one row. Now we're actually going to optimize the low poly, which is the 6,000 polygon. So here I'm just going to fix all this polygon, and you can see the process from me explaining. Okay, once it's done, can you see that now the model is actually less loose better. So I'm gonna not at least make sure it's actually in soft edges. So looking good, and I'm going to make sure, okay, everything is ready before I export it. Okay, that should look okay. So I'm gonna just try out the specular. Looking good. In this stage, we're just kind of testing out, making sure the surface looks okay. Okay, it looks good. So we're gonna export this model. Okay, but I'll show you here this if I try to smoothen with this model, of course we're gonna get higher polygon from this, but it's about 17,000. If we try to smooth 2 times, it's about 70,000+. Yeah, literally this both of them actually can work, but if it's that much difference on the surface, right, I'd rather use the low poly 6,000 polygon for the game ready asset. So this is just to test out what happens when you use the smooth function, and we still can get a little bit more smoother surface, but at the end of the day, we are looking at a game ready asset, so we cannot have too high poly, so eventually we still go for the 6,000 polygon. And over here, I'm trying to maybe use the retopologize function. Gonna retopologize this 5,000 polygon, maybe to make sure it's a bit higher than smooth. See if I try 10,000. Of course, once I see the setting okay, I'm going to apply it. Okay, so the retopologize button actually works very well, but the problem is just that when you have already the model being unwrapped already, so the texture is applied already, but when you try to use the retopologize, then the texture is the UV, right, and it's gone. So no matter how much we try to apply the texture, so the UV is gone, as we can check for the UV editor. Okay, so we open our UV editor, you will see that how come the retopologize, the UV is totally gone? In this case, because you're actually looking at a new model, so we need to totally unwrap. So it can be a bit chaotic with a scan object, because really the scan object, right, the UV is a bit like cluttered around, and then when you try to retopologize and the UV is gone, there's no way we're scratched to unwrap again. Okay, manually, it's impossible. So at the end of the day, the decision still goes to using the 6,000 polygon for the final game asset. Okay, so just doing a last round check, and I'm gonna choose a low poly. Okay, make sure we move it to the center of the scene before we export them. Okay, looking good. And we're going to export this one to Unreal. So I'll name it properly, low poly, so I know it's when I put in the game engine. So now let's go into Unreal. So inside this Unreal, I usually using this sign with the interior that I actually did previously with the exercise, and now I'm gonna import the low poly model into the recipe scan folder. So we just need to choose the MBS, where the MBS will actually import together with the texture. So we're going to make sure the material setup is actually turned on. Make sure you save it after you import. So we're going to put this border into the scene. Okay, but looking at this, double check the mesh editor first. So it looks okay. Okay, put in the scene, and because the object is very big, so I'm going to kind of put in the center of the scene and then scale it down to a size that we actually can build it in the interior. Okay, so looks nice, the size. So I'm going to recreate a new material because these original materials can be a bit complex. And once I create a new material, I can just assign just the texture and just adjust the specular and the roughness more easier. So what I do is just import the base texture and apply to the base color. Then I'm sure you save it and assign to the model. Okay, so it's going to lower the roughness. Okay, make sure try out with maybe a little bit material and a little bit specular. So in the moment I turn off the material and maybe I increase the material to half 0.5. Once I save, you can see the object is a bit more like metallic toy. Okay, it's a bit flashy and reflective. So I think the metallic part we actually just move it and let's test it as a non-metallic object, and still got a little bit flashy like a toy, a plastic toy. So probably the specular has to lower down a bit more. Okay, zeros maybe too much, but maybe leaving a little bit of specular is a good idea. Okay, looking good. A little bit shiny reflectiness, and once you save, then you could post the model. Okay, you frame it properly. Okay, unselect the object and frame it properly for nice shots. So here it's kind of the angle. I think this lighting is actually pretty much nice to test. So once I turn off, when I look from far, it's like look at the overall framework. It does blend into the environment as an object well. Okay, so this is the final step for the to game ready asset, and hopefully you guys actually find it very useful. So I'll see you guys in the future for more tutorials again.